So I ended up having surgery on both eyes for detached retinas, and the vision's never been the same since. I wear like 3 different pairs of glasses. So for the Q wave to make an improvement after a concussion little over a year ago, and after everything that's happened to my eyes, to me is a true miracle.
Oh, that's
like I said,
cool.
It's not 2020, but it's a huge improvement.
Hey, Dr. Gloria, thanks so much for coming to spend some time with me today.
Oh, thank you, Tracy. It's a real honor, and I hope that my experiences will help some other people understand that they're not alone and that there are solutions.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking, we have over 60 member testimonials up on our YouTube already. And
wow.
So everybody's so unique. And that's what I think is important to portray, is that everybody's experience is going to be different.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And I see that in my patients. I mean, somebody can be exposed to one thing and have a set of symptoms, and then exposed to the same thing, somebody else is completely different.
Yeah. Or bio-individual for sure. So can you tell the listeners, please, how you were feeling prior to coming to QHS?
Well, totally exhausted. I just turned 76 in June, in this month. And I usually have the energy of, 3 women and can work circles around 40-year-olds. But I also had a lot of stress after I got COVID, because that's when, as you know, my business partner got COVID as well and ended up on kidney dialysis to this day. So that stress of nursing somebody 24 hours a day and working 7 days a week, I was already having insomnia from other past health issues that were horrible. But after COVID, it was terrible. And now I'm able to sleep, not like I'd like to yet, but I've had the device, Tracy, about 7 weeks going on 8. So just about 2 months.
Okay, nice. So you didn't have the energy, you weren't able to sleep. Is there anything else that you were feeling?
Well, yes. I have peripheral neuropathy because after an accident that I had in 1992, I ended up type 2 diabetic. And I watch myself, and my diet is very clean and organic and gluten-free and the whole bit. But the neuropathy has never gotten better, no matter what I do, even procedures that I know work and have worked for a lot of my patients through the years, nothing was better. Now on my right foot, I mean, I know it sounds funny, but on my right foot, I'll put my hand up, my toes were like this, and I couldn't spread them when I laid in bed. Now I'm spreading both feet. Now the neuropathy is still there, and it's still kind of, how it is like when your body part goes to sleep and then it starts waking up again. The left foot is not as good, but that's the one I had blood clots and pulmonary embolism after my accident in 92. So that's going to take a little longer. But the right foot, I mean, it's completely opening and moving, and I can feel it, which I couldn't feel the ball of the foot.
Wow.
So that's a huge improvement. Like I said, it'll be 8 weeks this next week. On Saturday, it'll be 8 weeks.
Wow, that will help your walking and mobility and everything as well. So,
well, thank God it hasn't stopped my mobility. I dare you to try to keep up with me, but you're probably the only one that can, from what I know about you already, and Cynthia. But no, I mean, I really didn't let that slow me down. It's just that it wasn't comfortable. It was painful, no matter what shoes I bought or what inner soles or orthotics I tried. Nothing helped, and I haven't done anything different other than the Q wave, and I'm now opening my toes and feeling the ball of my foot. So that's a huge improvement to me.
Nice. They say, I was talking to Cynthia about somebody yesterday, and she said she recommends putting it right on the spot that you're, like, if your left foot's really bugging you, just at night, sleep on it, with a sock on, and have it right there on your foot. And
well, I heard several members say they put, I've heard several members, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, say that they put it in a sock. I haven't tried it. I think it was a little chicken because I had blood clots in that leg, and the calf is still very sore this many years later, because they told me that that blood vessel where they threaded the dye, for the contrast, that was permanently damaged. I don't believe that, but it has up to this point been. And so I was a little chicken, to be honest, to put it on there, but I will try it and report to you.
Yeah, Cynthia just messaged me to tell a member that 2 days ago. So she said, put it right on the pain spot, so.
Okay, well, it's not chance or coincidence. She just said it. I'll try it and let you know.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you've noticed?
The one thing I've noticed, I think we need to add a very important factor, Tracy, because I'm going through so much with my patients, post-vax and unvaxxed. I mean, they caught COVID like we did, and we weren't vaxxed. And the emotional trauma, I kept saying, dear God, why do I have to go through this? But every time I've been through a very serious health challenge, and I've had more than my share, it's always been, at the end, it's always been because I was able to really walk in the shoes of my patients that are going through the same thing. And no matter how much empathy you have, no matter how many prayers, no matter how educated or experienced that we are applying, as you know, nobody knows what anybody goes through. And so having to be a caregiver for a business partner 24/7 who was dying in my arms 3 times, the stress was off the chart. And now when there's a little hiccup and he doesn't feel real well, or there's mood swings and there's terrible other symptoms, GI symptoms, and I'm sure he'll tell you all that, that are very disturbing, I just pray and I just say, you know what can I do to help you? But it's not like I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. And I talked to a psychologist friend of mine who has helped many of my patients, and he says that's still PTSD, Gloria, whether you realize it or not. Because every time he coughs, he's in the bedroom down the hall in my house, and every time he coughs, it's like I'm up. I think I'm falling asleep, and I'm up immediately, like when your baby's sick. When my boys were sick, and you know how that is. You've got one ear always tuned. Okay, same thing. And so now I don't do that. He coughs, he'll sneeze, he gets up and he's kind of moaning because he's hurting or something else is happening that's not comfortable, and I don't jump out of bed. So that's a huge thing with the Q-Wave, because it has helped me emotionally to not be that fight or flight response. And I always had that since COVID, and that's been over a year. It was January of 2022, last year, that we both got COVID within hours of each other, which is really strange. And I was very sick. So as I told you, the other thing I need to say is that I ended up with a severe concussion, and it affected my right eye because of hitting my head on the kitchen floor. And he was so sick at that time that he couldn't even come and help me. He heard the thump, but he couldn't even help me. And that eye is getting better and better. I had another procedure done, which I'll discuss at another time. But the eye doctor that I went to, the surgeon, discounted it and said, oh, it's just a broken blood vessel. You're looking through little spots of blood. That's why they're kind of pink or lavender, really. And if it doesn't go away in 3 or 4 months, come back. Never said, let's take a scan. Let's see what else could be going on. Nothing, just the eyeball scan that they took. And later on, I found out it was a tumor, and I had it removed, surgically removed. And so I have bald spots on this side of my head. But the vision still wasn't getting better. And with the device, it's now much better. I have my computer glasses on right now, but I can see you, I can read, I do a lot of writing, as you can imagine, and research. And it was getting to the point where, oh my God, I don't know how much longer I can do this. And it's much clearer. It's not perfect yet, but it's really improved. So that's a huge thing, because he told me, there's nothing we can do.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's awesome that you are helping with your eye, because vision is such an important thing. My husband has problems with his eye. He's actually at the eye doctor right now. He had to have eye surgery and all this
Well,
stuff.
I would never do it again. I had, after my accident, you know enough about Chinese medicine. I believe that Chinese, because I've taught in China at the medical schools many times, and they always kept emphasizing your eye health is connected to your liver health. And even in Russia, the greeting, if you go, it's in Russian, which I don't speak. It's how's your liver? You know, it's kind of like, hi, how you doing? And I laughed when they said that at the medical school, but it's true. I have Russian patients. And so when my liver about shut down, I wasn't supposed to make it beyond 90 days in 93 because my accident was the end of 92. And I wore hard contact lens, Tracy, the old-fashioned, permeable ones. Sorry, I've got gnats and I'm fighting them all day here. And I know it's horrible in Texas right now. And so every year I'd have them checked. Never even got a new prescription. In 30 years, they stabilized my vision completely. After I came out of ICU, I couldn't see to drive home.
Wow.
So it affected the vision that quick with all the drugs they gave me and all of the blood thinners and everything for the pulmonary embolism. So what happened was then they said, well, the only solution is to have LASIK. So I had LASIK surgery. And do you want to hear this quickly?
You can tell me whatever you want.
Okay. So I had LASIK surgery and I saw really good for about a week. And then it started getting worse and worse and worse where I couldn't drive. And so I went back and they had wrinkled my cornea because the laser got too hot. Oh yeah, I've written 28 books. That's why. Because every time something happened to me, I'd say, dear God, now what? Write a book so that people understand what's going on. So I had to pay out of my pocket to redo both surgeries in both eyes for the LASIKs. Well, I didn't, and this is a warning to everybody listening to this, I did not read the 10 or 11 pages of fine print that you have to sign as a disclaimer when you have LASIK surgery. And later on I did, of course. And the fine print says that there's a high risk of having cataracts and then detached retinas. Well, I didn't see that till my attorney pointed it out much later. So guess what? A couple years later, I had to have implants because I had cataracts. Then I was lecturing at a medical conference in Las Vegas 2 years after that. It was exactly 2 years between each episode. And I had been flying. I had been lecturing all over the country, and I thought I was just tired. Got up from the hotel and thought, God, that's weird, and got a funny little headache here. And so I went into the conference hall, and I was the keynote speaker, and all of a sudden I started crying. And you've got 200 and some doctors there and therapists. And I said, I can't see. I can't see. All I can see is black moons. And I'm at the podium. So they escorted me out. 2 doctors ran to my rescue and said, oh, my God, you've got detached retinas. So they put me on an airplane in a wheelchair and took me to Spokane, Washington, where my surgeon was. Not the LASIK surgeon, but my good eye surgeon. And he said, yeah, we got to get a specialist in here right away. So I ended up having surgery on both eyes for detached retinas, and the vision's never been the same since. I wear like 3 different pairs of glasses. So for the Q-Wave to make an improvement after a concussion a little over a year ago, and after everything that's happened to my eyes, to me is a true miracle.
Oh, that's
like
so
I said,
cool.
It's not 2020, but it's a huge improvement. Huge.
That's fab. Really, really cool.
Yeah,
and
it is cool.
Pretty soon it's going to be perfect 2020.
Oh my God, yes. What a blessing.
So is there anything else you want to add to your list of benefits before we move on to my favorite question?
Yes, I think that people need to. I love who was it that wrote that beautiful, I'm going blank, beautiful piece about jumping out of the airplane?
Oh, Cohen.
Oh my God, a magnificent piece. God bless him. I think that people just need to understand, having been a naturopath and a homeopath for 40 years, people just need to remember that they can't expect miracles with the Q wave. They have to expect improvements. They have to expect it to be able to help our body prepare for what's coming. But I hear people say, well, I didn't hear an improvement. I didn't have this. It's like, excuse me, if you take it off and don't wear it for a week, I guarantee you'll go right back to it. So that's my closing statement on that.
Yeah. And everybody's body's different. Everybody's going to have a different timing. I mean, I've had people, Gloria, that have felt the frequency before they even receive the device.
Oh my goodness, really?
I mean, several people. So
wow.
They can feel it. It's that entanglement, the quantum entanglement is a real phenomenon.
Well, and some of the stories that you've shared, I don't know if it was you or Cynthia, but that shared on our calls that somebody had an elderly grandmother sitting on the couch, not close to her. Remember that? And that grandmother got the benefit of it and I don't remember what was going on with her, but that's a good example of why we shouldn't make judgments. If we're in the consciousness of, yes, this is a blessing, it's a true miracle, and that's why we're supporting the whole effort. And that's why I'm going to have a health center, a healing center, which I do not want to run. So if anybody wants to run it in the area where I've identified, I'll support it, but I'm not, 40 years of having a clinic is enough. But that's important that people remember that it is a slow process. And then once we get into the blessed healing bed, then our life changes. And people have said, well, how are you going to feel when like I feel right now? I'm not going to feel any different. I'm still going to work the same. I'm still going to have the same commitment to my patients worldwide. And my commitment to never accepting a diagnosis without doing the research. Mm-hmm. Because had I not done my own research, I wouldn't be here today.
Wow.
Period.
Well, and now you have all of this decades of knowledge and wisdom that you've gathered with all of that research, and you get to apply it to a healthy 30-year-old body.
Exactly.
I mean, even though I was healthy when I was 30, it's like, I'm sure that I'm going to be even healthier than when I was 30, right? So what excites you about
you're
that?
Absolutely about that, being able to help more people. I mean, my whole life is literally helping people to overcome. I'm going to share something I think is kind of funny, but one of my mentors that I have the highest respect for, Dr. Sherry Rogers, is retired now, and she was a doctor of environmental health, and that was one of my specialties. Chemically induced immune system disorders, whether it's from the air or food or, chemicals added to the food or prescription drugs or whatever. And then I ended up in the same position after my accident when my liver shut down. See what I mean about God kind of puts me in this position and I go, oh, dear God, what now what? But it's always been a real learning lesson, and it's been something that I have used then to further what I'm doing for my patients. So Dr. Sherry was very sensitive, very allergic, like I became when my liver shut down. And then she repaired her body, and she made a great presentation to one of the medical conferences, and they were not integrative medical doctors, okay? They were all very conventional, in-the-box medical doctors. And somebody was making some comment about these women that all come in with fibromyalgia. And by the way, I had fibromyalgia and I became president of the organization. But she had fibromyalgia as well. And they were good. What they need to do is just get on antidepressants. And Dr. Rogers got up on the podium and screamed at the top of her lungs. She's a cute little petite blonde. And she says, damn it, fibromyalgia and chemical sensitivities are not a deficiency of Prozac. And I'll never forget that because, she got a standing ovation and she deserved it because she had realized being a conventional medical doctor was not answering the call that the patients needed. It was giving them more toxicity. And yes, you do need drugs in the interim. If I hadn't had the drugs after my blood clots, I wouldn't be alive. But the damage that they do, they usually do more damage than they do good. And that's what she was getting at. It doesn't mean somebody in that kind of chronic pain shouldn't have some help, but get some alternative help as well. What can you do? How can I change my diet so that the food I'm eating doesn't induce inflammation? How can I go organic so that all those chemicals they're putting in doesn't ignite more inflammation? And that's what she was getting at. So I love that quote. I put it in several of my books and in my lectures because I gave her full credit for that. And that doctor literally got up, Tracy, left the lecture hall and lit a cigarette. What does that tell you? So we never stopped talking about that because it's like, well, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah. So are you friends with her or is she just an acquaintance?
No, because she's now retired. I haven't talked to her in years. I'm not on the lecture circuit. I was for about 14 years. So I was home in North Idaho where I had 2 clinics 1 week and traveled 1 week. Can you imagine? I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And I, formulated products for nutraceutical companies. So of course there's the medical conferences where you're talking about why this new product is the best and, et cetera, et cetera. And I finally stopped traveling and gave up all my contracts when I moved to Ecuador. I shared with you that I had gone for 3 years to teach and research. And, the final straw was I was in, the gal that runs my institute in Idaho still has been with me for over 30 years. And I called her from Kansas City. That was the fibromyalgia conference. And I had just finished the conference and I woke up and couldn't remember where I was.
Whoa.
I kept trying to think, where did I fly in from? Am I still in Kansas City? And I'm at this big hotel. And I called her and I said, oh my God. I said, that did it. I finally realized by looking at my stuff where I was. And I said, that did it. Because I was traveling, I can't even tell you, but you can imagine 2 trips a month, the entire week traveling and lecturing and teaching, except for December.
Wow, that's
so
too
after
much for
so
me.
many years, that was enough. So that's when I decided to close the clinics. Can't sell them because I am the practice. So I closed the clinics and kept the nutraceutical part of it for my patients open, which she runs. And I made a quick trip to Washington State to help a doctor friend whose wife had had a stroke and he had just opened a new clinic and wanted me to help him. And then I went to Ecuador and I came back to start my projects and my humanitarian work. So
Cool.
That's, in a nutshell, that's where I've been.
Well, you are amazing. My brand that I've had for maybe, I don't know, 8 years, 10 years, something like that, for my health coaching is high energy girl. But Gloria, you are a high energy girl for sure.
Thank you. Let me add a little bit of a PS to that. When I was helping so many people with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, chemical sensitivities, everybody looked at them like they needed Prozac, right? And one of my patients, an Amish woman, gave me the idea. She said, Dr. Gloria, you have saved my life. You've completely rejuvenated my body and my life because you've taught me how to eat, you've taught me how to cook, and you've given me everything I needed to repair my body. So my center used to be called Naturopathic Health Centers, and I changed it to Institute for Holistic Rejuvenation with a W. You probably saw it if you went to my website, because that way it's the whole person, mind, body, spirit. I always felt like holistic with an H was like a hole. Something was missing.
Oh.
So my institute is holistic, and my courses that I give that are for practitioners to become certified as a holistic rejuvenist is spelt with a W. So that was one of my patients that gave me that, planted that seed, and I let it germinate. So that was pretty cool.
I like that. Well, it's so true. Yep. I mean, our emotions, our spiritual connections, our relationships, everything influences us and is actually mirrored back to us with our health oftentimes.
And most times, you're absolutely right. Most times it does. And the other part of that on the emotional side, Tracy, is that we get what we radiate. That's why I say to people, stop being negative. Oh, it's going to take so long to be in the bed. And it's going to be, I've had my device for a month and nothing's happened. Excuse me? You haven't had that condition for just a month. So we do get what we radiate. If I sat here and became a victim of everything I've had to go through, and you don't know 1/10 of it, I would be a mess. I wouldn't be able to function and be able to put the energy and the consciousness to do what all of us have committed to do for humanity. But I don't
it's
think
hard
that way.
So many people aren't willing to take personal responsibility and accept that, though. I have found that so many people are looking for things outside of themselves and play the blame game, and it's not their fault. It's everybody else's fault. So
they're a victim and they want a quick fix.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but hopefully we'll be coming into new times with the quantum reality as it presents itself in many ways. I mean, we get to be the trailblazers with the quantum healing, and but everything's going to be quantum, as I'm sure you know, and hopefully that will help.
Well,
so many ways.
I pray it will, but there again, all we can do is open the door.
Yeah.
If people aren't willing to, and I shared with you before, if people go into the healing bed and they come out and they eat junk food until the junk food is no longer available, but while it's available, if they continue to eat junk food and, do things that they shouldn't do for their body, they don't eat organic, they don't care about washing their vegetables. I have a lot of patients that's why I'm starting the Culinary Institute, because people don't understand how to cook. They think it's hard. It doesn't have to be hard. But if they come out and start going back to their old patterns, in my opinion, don't even waste the time and the energy and the space that somebody else would have if you're not going to make lifestyle changes. This isn't about quick fixes.
Yeah. Did you hear that Hippocrates quote on one of our things? I wish I knew how to search this document. It says something like, before you heal someone, make sure they're willing to give up what made them sick in the first place.
Oh, I didn't remember that, but I've heard it. Thank you. Yeah, no, you're right. And we are what we eat. So if they continue to put bad stuff in their body, it's going to be bad in and bad out.
Yeah.
I have patients that I'll say, I interview my patients for 15 minutes at no charge before I agree to take them now. Because I say to them flat out, if you're not willing to make lifestyle changes, eat all organic, take the supplements that I recommend, drink plenty of water, which I know you're a big advocate of. I always tell them they have to drink half of their body weight in water, in ounces, minimum, unless you're on kidney dialysis like my business partner. He can't have many liquids. But, all of those things that I demand, you have to do a weekly saliva test and send me a picture, because I want to see what kind of fungus is growing in your body. And you can see the improvements then. Or when you screwed up on your diet and you ate 3 pieces of pizza and 2 bowls of pasta, it's going to show. And, I couldn't do that. I love potatoes. I couldn't give that up. What am I going to do without my, and I just say, I'm sorry. There's no charge for today, but I won't take you as a client because you're setting us both up for failure, right? The same thing with the healing bed. If somebody goes into it and comes out, in my opinion, and goes back to all the ugly stuff they did to get there, as you just, adequately quoted Hippocrates, then they're going to say, well, see, the bed didn't work. It helped for a while, but think about that. I think, Cynthia, I'm sure has thought about that, and so has Dr. A, because they can't maintain the health if they go back to what they were doing before that got them there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the biggest messages.
That's why I'm trying to have, with my hug videos, is trying to help people start now instead of waiting. They're all like, I'm going to wait, and then after the QR, I'm going to do this. Well, no, start now.
Right.
And so, that's kind of the goal with that. And it's a cause set in motion, right? So the more we do to help ourselves, the more help we will receive. So,
well, and it also has to become a habit.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
What's that old saying, Tracy, that you have to repeat something 7 times? I know when I used to do my radio shows, they'd say, repeat that 7 times, because it's very important for people to really get it. But there's also something about, I don't remember exactly to quote it, but something about you have to do something for X amount of weeks. I think it's, 7 or 8 weeks. There's that number 7 again, right? 7 or 8 weeks before it becomes a pattern.
Yeah.
And all of us have I have a routine every morning. I get up, have my coffee first, make my foam. We all have this pattern. But if you're getting into a new pattern, you've got to do it consistently. And after a while, it's like automatic. It's autopilot. You don't have to think about it because it's done.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Compound effect. And then Thomas was talking about a great book called Atomic Habits. That's really a good book about how to create healthy habits. But I used to tell my clients, just add one healthy habit at a time. Like, what is one thing,
right.
Because otherwise it gets overwhelming and then they throw in the towel. So they feel like, well, if I can't do this and I failed at all of it, no, just pick one. So,
well, and you're so right. And the same thing goes, for instance, for drinking water, since on the calls, we've had so much comment about water. And remember, I put in about drinking through a straw. But the one important thing about drinking water is that people go from 0 to 100. And I know you'll agree with that. If you're only drinking 2 glasses of water a day, and I tell you, Tracy, you need 60 ounces of water a day, don't go to 60 ounces right away. That's not good for the kidneys either. So like you said, go up to 4 glasses and then go to 6 and do that. Yeah, right. Take the baby steps and do it 3 or 4 days at each step before you go to the next one. Don't just go from 0 to 100, because the body's going to rebel, whether it's kidneys or whatever else. It could be lymphatic system. It's going to rebel because it can't do something that quick. So you're right about taking it slow. Yeah, taking it slow with making those changes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I hadn't put it that way, but you're correct.
Yeah. So I think that's what, one of our goals here is to help people create healthy habits and, so that way they can maintain their results. And that's why I feel like it's important to start now, instead of waiting, just start now.
Right.
So, well, you are awesome, Gloria. I could talk with you all day long.
Thank you.
So,
and you're so easy to interview with. So thank you.
Aw, I just love it. I have the best job ever. So it's super fun. All right. So I want to thank you for spending time with me, and I look forward to having you back on part 2. So post Q arc.
Okay. That's a great thing to look forward to. And thank you again for all of your help for all of us. God bless you. And we'll see you in Utah.
God bless you too.
Thank you for making this QHS project fly. This valorous admin team, thank you. The Key community welcomes you. Thank you for making your home QHS healthy and happy. Thank you for helping us place QH centers all around the world. Together, hand in hand, we make miracles happen. QuantumHealingSystems.org. Thank you.